on. Welcome everybody. Let me just close the other applications. Okay, here we are again. I'll just take my glasses off so now I can look you in the eye. So welcome. Happy New Year for those of you who've been celebrating in Israel, and what an awesome day yesterday was. Honestly, it was just phenomenal spending over 24 hours in meditation, in contemplation, no food, no drink, is just pure bliss, pure purification. Is just extraordinary. And being in prayer and blessing, I was just overcome. I spent most of the time at the synagogue, actually, first time in my life spending so much time at the synagogue. And it was such an honor, such a great experience. So today, I'm still talking on the live feed. There's been a few requests. So one request came about addressing healing after death, which is about grief. I had a private message requesting about anxiety, panic attacks, and having fainting of panic attacks and taking some medication for vertigo. And also earlier this afternoon, I had someone about body aches all over. So I'm going to address these. If you've got anything you would like to communicate with me, please don't hesitate to use the communicator, and I shall revert to using my glasses. So, isn't it wonderful to being alive? It just really is extraordinary. And whether you've just come back from a dreadful experience of a memorial service or a burial service, which is very emotionally charged, then however you are, however you feel, however you are right now, it's perfect, just as you are. So just take a deep breath in, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, you surrender to all that you are. Just exhale through the mouth, letting go of everything that you're holding on. Just letting go. And take another deep breath in. And exhale, letting go. And again, just take a deep breath in. And exhale out, letting go. Breathing in, breathing out. Prana-Yama. Prana means life. Yama means death. Every time we breathe in life, we breathe in the divine. Every time we exhale, we let go and surrender to all that is. Just changing in form. So I'm going to address, first I'm going to address very briefly about aches all over, because that is pertinent right now to some of the people that I've been in communication with. So aches all over is an interesting one because it really is very vague. Of course, I'm not a health professional. I need to make that clear. From a spiritual perspective, aches all over without a specific point, it's probably the body is trying to tell you to stop, mostly body telling you to stop. But if it is, for some people, that particular case that I'm dealing with is actually an avoidance. The person doesn't want to be in a certain place. So they're using it as an avoiding technique. And rather than take responsibility and take full power, saying, I choose not to be there, or I don't want to participate in this, then instead they're using aches or circumstances as an excuse to avoid being responsible. And of course, whatever shows up in their life is their choice, or actually the lack of making a choice. Not making a choice is also a choice. So yeah, so aches all over. There's not much to work with. It's it's an avoidance technique. So I'm very blunt about it. And either you're taking care of your well-being and you're nursing yourself, and you are just taking time out to I don't know, to even cuddle with a very cozy blanket in front of the TV, and drinking your favorite hot chocolate, or whatever it is that you need to do in order to take care of yourself, to stop. So it's a way of the body saying, a gentle nudge, listen to yourself, take some time out, be with myself. So aches all over, I don't buy into it. You either take care of your well-being, nourish yourself, or there's something you're avoiding, and you are not wanting to be responsible, and you are not claiming back your power. So that's all I'm going to say on that subject. On the first point that I mentioned, which is anxiety. So someone I'm working with at the moment um, has actually got the success that he wanted. He got the accolade, he got the success, which is beyond belief. And the anxiety, when we looked as to when he actually got what he wanted to, everything that he wanted all his life, suddenly getting it, and why the anxiety suddenly. So there's a few reasons, and as we worked, something came really clear for that person, and it might resonate with some of you. So anxiety is fears, is we're focusing, it's any way our mind makes it all up. So it's the anxiety, fear of the future based on the past and the past learning. So for that particular person was scarcity. There wasn't enough at home, there wasn't enough always, struggling always. So there was surviving on that level was very familiar for many years, surviving on that level. But when we come into, when the person who came from lack and they go into the success that they've always dreamt about, suddenly it's scary. Actually, most people are really afraid of success, and the anxiety is only when he suddenly had too much time to think about it. There was what if, all the what ifs, all the past fear has come flooding in, past based fear come flooding in. Why not focus on the story of the future that you actually want to create, rather than creating a past based fear? So he could see that actually the anxiety, and of course that resulted, too much anxiety that held in the body that we can't contain, takes us off balance. And when we're off balance, we manifest vertigo, which is what the person experienced, vertigo. And having had vertigo myself, I know my vertigo was definitely fear-based anxiety, complete. So there's, and it's very real. It's very scary. It's very real. And it's about how do we nourish ourselves through that. So of course there are vertigos that are to do with our inner ear imbalance and all that, and you have to get these checked by a doctor, because I'm not a health professional. But what I can tell you is that when we look at the fear and the anxiety, it really is important to actually check what is our belief system, what is there, what's our hopes and aspirations? What's our belief for the future? And what is it that we believe we deserve, which is totally based on our subscribing thoughts. Our subscribing thoughts will determine. So if you desire to be rich, if you desire to be a millionaire, but your subscribing thoughts is such of lack, is of you don't believe that you're going to get it, or it's always taken away from you, or you always lose it. Whatever it is, your subscribing thoughts, you need to identify that, because that is the programming that is hummingly churning in the background, and that is actually running your life, and it's stopping you from actually living, living your magnificent life. So it actually is that is the program that you need to identify and work and clean it, purify it, or virus check it, so that you can actually, or update it, basically update the program, so that you can actually really step into your power and accept what's rightfully yours. You've worked for so many years, or even it's rightfully yours because you were born into this body that has these desires, and that's okay because you were born. So deserving, undeserving, all that stuff, it's the same. Okay, you are worthy of receiving that which you desire. You cannot desire something that you're not that to manifest. So you cannot desire something that you don't know. You cannot long to unite with something that you are not that already. So if you're desiring to be abundant, you already are abundant. You just need to look around you. So much magnificence in your life, and recognize how much do you allow yourself to receive. So this is in a nutshell. Let's go to the grief today that was addressed by one participant. So or coming back after the burial of a friend. And so it really is about, the grief is a grief for ourselves. Everything is a relationship to ourselves. We are in relationship with other people, with ourselves. There's only one relationship. So you really need to take that on. It's what the other person represents to you. So whoever that person was, of course, you need to honor them. You need to celebrate them, their lives, their contribution to your life and to contributions to other people's lives. So honor that, and it will be forever with you. They will be forever with you. Yeah, they have transcended into another realm of physical manifestation. So the physical body has shed, and now they've transmuted into another dimension, if you believe in that. So it's or if you think about it, an acorn turned into a seedling, and it turns into a tree, and then it turns into a fruit, and then and the leaves, and then it drops from the tree, and then of course it rots and becomes food to other animals. So there's a cycle, there's cycles continuous. So we are forever changing form. And grief in humans is very interesting, because we try to latch on to something. We try to freeze frame something in our life. We try to go back to a picture from the past. That's already the past. If you've taken a picture a minute ago, that's already the past. It's gone. We are forever evolving, forever changing. So we need to get that. And also, a lot of us grieving, we grieve for our youth, we grieve for the loss of this, we grieve for the loss of business, we grieve for all sorts of things, for possessions. But when we get that we are actually inseparable from all that is. So it's always have been, always will be, that pure love that you are. That contribution that that person represented and gifted you, they're a mirror for you. There's a perfect mirror here. There's a mirror for you about your life, who you are. So for instance, she was your best friend. So, and you love her. You probably love her more than you love yourself. She's there to represent, that person is there to represent a part of you. What is she for you? What does she represent from you, from your internal process, from your internal growth? It's the same with a partner. What does the partner reflect to me? The good and the bad, the light, the shiningness, and also the shadows. It's there reflecting constantly something that I need or we need to embrace within ourselves. That's it. It's as simple as that. So for dealing with grief, you need to honor that person. Whoever that person was for you, she or he is really special. They are special for their own accord, and they're special for what they gifted to you. So you've got to honor them. You've got to cry. You've got to tell the stories. You've got to grieve like the in the Jewish burial ceremonies. They bring these religious people, mourners, professional mourners, to mourn in a shiva, to mourn, to help people feel and get connected to the grief. So mourn and grieve. Those of you who've done other work like bioenergetics or Easter, all these things, then open your hands, go back and just mourn and wail and yell and cry. So you need to express the pain. You need to allow that. You need to speak to that beloved person. You need to tell them. You need to tell them all the beautiful, all the correct things. And you also need to tell them how you're hurting, how you're angry at them leaving. Whatever the truth is there for you, you've got to express it. Otherwise, it is somatized in the body, and it's not healthy for you. So you've got to express grief. You've got to express it fully. You see kids, the way that they are actually feeling feelings, whatever the feelings are, whether it is joy or whether it is, whoops, something happened to the internet. I hope that it's still going on. No, seems like, okay. I don't know if it's still going on, but yeah, can you give me a sign that it's happening still? Okay, so I'll just carry on talking. The grief has to be expressed, and you've got to communicate with the people that you love. You've got to tell them how much you love them. You've got to tell them how much they contributed. You've got to honor them. You've got to say all the things that you didn't get to say to them. Maybe write a letter to them. Maybe you need to do it a few times. Maybe you do the gestalt by talking to an empty chair or an empty cushion. You've got to do that. Maybe you need someone to be there to witness you and to talk to another friend who knew them or just knows you, and will really get your communication so that you can look in the eye of the other and get that they see you with your grief. And if not, do it in front of a mirror so that you can actually express it all. If you don't, it will be there for years. I personally did not grieve well for when my father passed on 30 years ago. For 15 years, I was carrying him, not letting go within my being. I refused to let him go. I loved him dearly. And there was a point on my birthday, 15 years after my father passed away, and 15 years ago, that I had a rabbi recognized that, and actually he did an exorcism to release my father, so that because I refused to let him go. I loved him so much. It was holding on. So this Kabbalist rabbi did that. And I'm not recommending it for everyone. But, the point is grieve properly. Allow yourself to grieve fully. And it can pass like that. And it doesn't mean that you forget them. You can celebrate them. You can celebrate their lives. You can have, like I did for a while, a dead dad day, which I ate the things that he loved, which was belinchis and, and drink brandy. It's like really celebrate this stuff. So honor the person, honor what they are for you, and really celebrate that. Okay? So you need to express, you need to cry, you need to write down, you need to be angry, you need to tell them all these things so that you can be free. The person who passed on to the other side, they do not wish for you to suffer. And the other side doesn't have those distinctions, if you like, having been resuscitated and come back. It is, this life is very interesting. So yeah, just be fully alive here and now. Express all that you need to express to the person who departed. And it really is about what it is that we are missing about them, that they represent to us. Because the other person is always a reflection and a mirror for us. So if you are in a love partnership, the other person, you fell in love with them half a year ago, great, they're still, gorgeous gods, goddesses. But if you fell in love with them 30 years ago, then it might be slightly different. They might have those little quirkiness things that you fell in love with so much, they might press your buttons now. That person hasn't changed much. It's exactly the same person. You still don't know them, just as when you didn't know them when you fell in love with them. They were just a creation, a figment of your imagination. So the other person comes to our life in order to reflect to us about us. How much do I love myself? What lessons do I need to learn? What parts of my shadow self, if for instance it's an abusive relationship, what is it in myself that I don't honor? So I need to take full responsibility for every relationship in my life, every single one. So there's no 50-50. It doesn't exist in relationship because there's only one relationship. That's the one relationship. It's with the I. And so I'm 100% relationship with myself. I'm 100% in relationship with another, with a love partner, with whoever it is. So if another person comes in a relationship, then there's 200%. So it's not 50-50 at all. Each person is responsible fully. So basically about the grief, yeah, we can talk about the grief and that person specifically, but because I'm talking generally here, it really is important to honor, to nourish yourself, to cry, to grieve, because you're grieving for the loss of what could have been, what they represented to you. If they were their best friend and talking to you, you're going to miss those conversations. All these things of how did they make you feel? It's, of course, no one makes you feel any other way other than you allow yourself to feel. So this is really important, that allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to honor the person, allow yourself to be with that, whatever they represented to you. Okay, so because I don't have any feedback from you, I don't know if that rings true for you. If there's anything else that you want to say, because you've just come back from the funeral, And I know that Jewish funerals can be quite harsh and very final. In a way, they are doing good service to the family and the people who live on, because in a very cruel way, they excommunicate. They say about the excommunicating of the dead from the living community, which is very harsh. But it's very final, and it's a good thing that there's a 7 days of mourning. It really is very well designed, very well designed. And so go through that process, give yourself the time, see how would she like to have celebrated her life? What do you regret not having done with her? And go and do that in honor of her. So, for instance, if she desired to go traveling to Japan, book yourself a Japan little holiday. Or if she liked to meet you at Cafe Aroma and have a cheesecake, go and celebrate that with her. Do the thing in for her memory, so that to really acknowledge her contributions to your life, and talk to her, write to her or him, depending on who it is. So this is all for now. That's all I've got today. Because I have another session this evening, so I've got to go. So it's a very short session today. I hope this has been of benefit to you. I really would urge you to remember that you need to be kind to yourself. So grief is about self-love. And so love yourself. And of course, when you bestow love to others, some of it begins to fill in for yourself. So it's all about self-love, honoring yourself, honoring everybody else as yourself, and live the life that you love and thrive. Thank you.